For nearly 20 years, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban stood as proof that love could survive anything. Addiction, fame, distance, pressure. They were held up as the rare example of a Hollywood marriage that didn't collapse under the weight of celebrity. An Oscar-winning actress and a country music superstar, two global icons who seemed to find balance in each other when their world should have pulled them apart. But behind the red carpets, award speeches, and carefully curated smiles, something far more fragile was unfolding. Court documents would later reveal that Nicole was the one who filed for divorce after 19 years of marriage. Sources close to the couple insist she didn't give up easily. She fought to hold the family together. She tried to save the marriage. But by the time the paperwork was filed, the love story so many believed in had already been unraveling for years. Then came Keith's first public performance after the split. No Wedding Ring, N.O. tribute song, and lyrics altered just enough to feel like a confession and an accusation. In a single night on stage, the image of the golden couple shattered. And for the first time, Nicole's side of the story began to quietly emerge. To understand how one of the most admired marriages in entertainment fell apart, you have to go back long before the wedding, long before Nashville, and long before the fairy tale ever began. Nicole Mary Kidman was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, in 1967 to Australian parents who were temporarily living abroad. Her father, Anthony Kidman, was a respected clinical psychologist and biochemist. Her mother, Janelle, was a nurse and educator. When Nicole was still young, the family returned to Sydney, where ambition, discipline, and intellect shaped her childhood. But Nicole was not the confident, commanding presence the world would later know. As a child, she was painfully shy. Teachers worried about her because she would blush uncontrollably when called upon in class. Speaking felt terrifying. Being seen felt overwhelming. Yet inside that shyness lived an intense imagination. Performance became her refuge. Ballet first, then drama classes, then youth theater. On stage, she could express what she couldn't articulate in everyday life. Emotions that felt unsafe in the real world became powerful tools under stage lights. By her teens, her talent was undeniable. Australia's film industry was growing, and Nicole stepped into it with quiet determination. Roles in television films led to her breakout in the cult classic BMX Bandits. Directors noticed her striking presence, but more importantly, they noticed her emotional depth. Hollywood followed. As her career rose, so did her visibility, and it was during this ascent that Nicole met Tom Cruise. Their marriage in 1990 turned them into one of the most photographed couples on the planet. But behind the glamorous facade, the relationship carried deep pain. Scientology cast a long shadow over their marriage. When it ended in 2001, Nicole didn't just lose a husband. She lost daily access to her two adopted children, Isabella and Connor. Friends later revealed that this loss devastated her. It wasn't simply a divorce. It felt like being stripped of motherhood itself. That wound never healed, and it shaped every relationship that followed. Keith Lionel Urban was born the same year as Nicole in Whangarei, New Zealand. His family moved to Queensland, Australia, when he was young. From early on, Keith carried a restless energy, a sense that he was always searching for escape. His father, Bob, owned a convenience store, but had a deep love for country music. He placed a guitar in Keith's hands when he was just 6 years old. Music quickly became more than a hobby. It became therapy. Country music spoke the language of heartbreak, longing, and redemption, feelings Keith knew well. His home life was reportedly marked by tension and financial strain. By his teens, he was performing in bars and talent shows, cultivating not just his sound but his identity as the brooding outsider. School fell away. Music became the only plan. But along with talent came demons. Alcohol and substances entered his life early. Even as success arrived, stability did not. When Keith moved to Nashville in the early 1990s, recognition came slowly, painfully. Years of grinding finally paid off in 1999 with his American breakthrough. Suddenly, he was country music's new heartthrob. Behind the scenes, chaos followed. By the time he met Nicole Kidman in 2005, Keith had already been in and out of rehab. Fame didn't calm him, it magnified everything. He lived with the constant fear that his addictions would destroy everything he had built. On paper, Nicole and Keith came from different worlds. Hollywood royalty versus Nashville grit. But emotionally, they shared something deeper. They were both wounded. Nicole carried the trauma of losing her family once before. Keith carried the instability of addiction and the fear of self-destruction. When they met, they were both standing at crossroads. Nicole had rebuilt her career, winning an Academy Award and cementing her legacy. Yet, emotionally, she longed for safety, stability, and a home that couldn't be taken from her. Keith was rising fast but teetering internally. He needed grounding. He needed belief. He needed someone who could anchor him. What looked like destiny was really volatile chemistry. Their first meeting at the Day USA Gala in 2005 didn't scream instant romance. Keith was polite but distant. They exchanged numbers, and then nothing. Months passed. Nicole later admitted she thought he simply wasn't interested. When he finally called, everything shifted. Their relationship moved fast. Within months, they were publicly inseparable. To Nicole, Keith represented freedom, raw, emotional, unpolished. To Keith, Nicole represented legitimacy, discipline, and the promise of stability. By June 2006, they were married in a lavish ceremony in Sydney. Candlelight, tears, serenades. The world watched as two broken people appeared to save each other. But fairy tales don't warn you what happens after the wedding. Just 4 months after their wedding, Keith checked himself into rehab. The timing was devastating. Nicole had barely settled into married life when crisis hit. Tabloids suggested she had married a ticking time bomb. Keith felt humiliated. He had believed love would be enough to keep him sober. Nicole chose loyalty. She visited him. She shielded him from the press. She became protector, healer, and anchor. Keith later credited her with saving his life. But insiders saw something more complex forming, a dynamic where she saved and he survived. That dynamic would define their marriage. For years, they became the antidote to Hollywood cynicism. She thrived in acclaimed film roles. He dominated country music charts. Award speeches overflowed with gratitude and emotion. Behind the scenes, the pressure mounted. Touring kept Keith away. Filming took Nicole abroad. Rules were created to limit time apart, but reality often broke them. When their daughters, Sunday and Faith, were born, Nicole poured herself into motherhood, determined never to repeat the loss she had experienced before. Keith adored his children but struggled with balance. Sobriety remained a daily effort. Nicole's need for stability sometimes came across as control. His desire for freedom sometimes felt like irresponsibility. Still, they pushed forward. The image mattered. As the years passed, their differences deepened. Nicole emphasized structure and routine. Keith leaned toward spontaneity. What once felt complementary began to feel conflicting. Friends described a marriage built on negotiation. Nicole admired Keith's vulnerability but feared it. Keith loved her strength but felt overshadowed by it. They weren't fighting loudly. They were drifting quietly, and the weight of being the couple everyone believed in became unbearable. By the early 2020s, rumors intensified. Time apart, emotional distance, quiet strain. Publicly, they denied everything. Privately, the effort required to maintain the illusion grew exhausting. Nicole grew tired of being the anchor. Keith grew tired of feeling managed. They wanted different things from the same marriage. By 2025, the distance was undeniable. Nicole retreated into family. Keith poured himself into music. There was no explosion, just the slow recognition that love alone was no longer enough. In September 2025, Nicole filed for divorce. The paperwork was restrained. Irreconcilable differences. Primary custody sought. No spousal support. It was the language of someone who had already done the emotional work. Keith's response came on stage. No ring. Altered lyrics. a set list that erased shared history. His performance felt raw, emotional, and unfiltered. Fans dissected every word. Nicole said nothing. At a film festival weeks later, she appeared composed, ringless, and heartbreakingly calm. At the heart of the divorce was family. Nicole was determined to protect her daughters. Keith agreed, understanding the realities of his life. In the aftermath, Nicole focused on stability. Keith turned pain into music. Their story wasn't a failure. It was a collision of two people who tried to heal each other and learned, too late, that love cannot replace balance. For nearly 2 decades, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban carried the weight of being proof that love could endure. In the end, what they chose was not defeat, but survival. And perhaps that is the truest ending of all. What do you think about their divorce? Let us know in the comments below.